The stars stretched endlessly before them, glittering like ancient sentinels in the cold silence of space. Captain Alina Vasquez stood motionless at the center of the bridge, her arms folded behind her back, her dark eyes scanning the void beyond the main viewport. Her expression was composed, almost serene, but beneath the calm exterior coiled a mind sharper than any blade. The bridge itself, on the surface, looked antiquated. Dull metal panels lined the walls, some of them scratched and dented. Control consoles buzzed with low-power hums, their displays flickering with the sluggish cadence of old systems. The chairs were scuffed, one even patched with thermal tape. Nothing about the merchant's dream suggested danger or strength, only long service, age, and necessity. In every corner, the illusion held. Behind the illusion, however, reality waited like a knife beneath a sleeve. Her crew of 5 played their parts perfectly, as they always did. They moved with the practiced rhythm of people used to pretending, monitoring fake cargo manifests, adjusting meaningless trajectory vectors, and performing the roles of tired haulers bound for some outer colony scraping for survival. In the logs, the merchant's dream was hauling emergency supplies to Kepler 442b, antibiotics, filtration tablets, protein rations. No one in their right mind would give it a second glance. That was the point. Beneath the layers of civilian dress and bureaucratic lies beat the heart of something far deadlier. Directive Blackstar had initiated the mission, a protocol so classified that only a dozen names in the galaxy even knew it existed. Hidden beneath the rusted skin of the freighter was the ES Retribution, humanity's most advanced experimental warship. Developed under the shroud of total secrecy by the Earth Space Force's Experimental Warfare Division, it was a weapon of last resort, a dagger aimed at the throat of anyone foolish enough to provoke humanity beyond reason. And the Krillians had gone too far. Their incursions had grown bolder, their disappearances more frequent, merchant ships gone without a trace, outposts silenced, patrols lured into traps and obliterated, every diplomatic channel exhausted, every warning ignored. Earth could no longer afford patience. The Retribution wasn't being sent to negotiate. It was being sent to remind the galaxy what it meant to awaken a Death World species. Admiral Vasquez had been handpicked not just for her record, but for her precision. She was a phantom, a tactician of terrifying efficiency whose black file missions spanned systems. If Earth needed a message written in fire, she was the one to write it. Her crew, each a blade in their own right. Marcus Chen, master of digital warfare, had once collapsed a pirate empire with nothing but signal interference and deep code injections. Rumor claimed he'd crashed an entire interstellar economy in a single hour during an unlisted operation. Sarah Kim, pilot and systems navigator, interfaced with ships like they were extensions of her nervous system. Where others flew with data, she flew with instinct, sharpened by thousands of simulation hours and neural combat runs. Tom Bradley, engineer and physicist, could make a singularity dance on a pin. He had once refused a Nobel Prize to join a program that didn't officially exist. Dr. Amanda Foster, the wildcard, part genius, part miracle worker, a civilian turned field operative after she single-handedly synthesized a cure for a weaponized plague on Thales Prime, using nothing but local flora and sealed lab equipment. Together they were a scalpel forged for surgical devastation, and their target was already closing in. Marcus's calm voice cut across the bridge, tinged with a perfect measure of civilian concern. "Captain, I'm picking up contacts. Long-range scans show multiple large vessels approaching at vector convergence." Alina raised a brow, turning slowly. "How many, Marcus?" He tapped his console with deliberate slowness. 15, ma'am. Different angles, fast approach. Energy signatures, match Krillian war patterns." A tremor of tension rolled through the bridge. Sarah leaned forward. "That's a full engagement wing. We're boxed in. Their formation suggests a 3-prong pincer." Tom looked up from his diagnostic overlay. "Even if we burned at full thrust, they'd net us in under 4 minutes. Dr. Foster swiveled, her brow furrowed. "Captain, the med crates, they have the last of the Gen 3 oncology treatment for the Kepler 442b outpost. If the Krillians seize them..." Alina walked to the command chair and sat, her voice quiet. "Then let's hope they ask nicely." A slight smile touched her lips. "Marcus, when they hail us, put them through." Within moments the screen flared. Krillian warships moved into tight formation, towering monsters of metal and malice. Their surfaces bristled with weaponry, triplasma batteries, railgun turrets, and the infamous antimatter lance. The Krillian fleet bore the jagged sigil of conquest, an asymmetrical blade piercing a dying sun. Each vessel was a statement of dominance, and at their center, like a spider in its web, sat the Warspawn, Admiral Thex's flagship. On its bridge, Admiral Thex leaned forward, his 4 crimson eyes narrowing. His scales were lined with the pale markings of a bloodline steeped in victory, his armor etched with the teeth of conquered enemies. He was a predator in command of a swarm. "Open channel," Thex growled. The screen on the merchant's dream flickered, revealing the Krillian's visage, a terrifying blend of regal posture and carnivorous intensity. "This is Admiral Thex of the Krillian Third Fleet. Your ship and cargo are now property of the Empire. Disable your engines. Prepare to be boarded. Resistance will be met with absolute annihilation." Alina rose slowly, her tone trembling, just enough. "Admiral Thex, this is a humanitarian mission. We're unarmed. We carry medical supplies and rations. Please, these are not weapons of war." Thex's lip curled. "Lies do not suit your kind. You offer peace while stabbing at our holdings in the Vega mines. You will serve now, as slaves. Your technology will feed our empire." "Admiral, perhaps we can negotiate," Alina offered. "There will be no negotiations. Disable your systems or be destroyed." The channel closed. For a heartbeat, the bridge was silent. Then Alina stood tall, her voice iron. "Marcus?" He nodded. "All decks, masquerade protocol is lifted. Begin full deployment." Transformation exploded across the bridge. Panels slid open, lights brightened, interfaces morphed. The shroud of civilian life fell away like ash. Holographic overlays shimmered into place, weapons arrays came online, and the crew's clothing shifted. Smart fabric forming armored uniforms marked with the insignia of Earth's elite. Gone was the freighter. What remained was the predator. Outside, stealth plating dissolved, revealing the angular dark form of the ES Retribution. Adaptive armor gleamed like obsidian under starlight. The ship's spine unfurled twin quantum batteries charged with violet fire. Letters along the hull burned to life. Experimental Warfare Division, ESF Retribution. On board the Warspawn, chaos spread. "Admiral!" the Krillian science officer shouted. "The human vessel, it's projecting phase fields and quantum signatures. I think it's an assault platform. Readings are off the scale. What kind of ship is that?" Thex snarled. A kind I've never seen." Back aboard the Retribution, Vasquez settled into her true command chair. "Sarah, full battle suite online. Tom, charge all quantum cannons. Marcus, drop our transponder cloak. Let them know exactly who we are." "They already know," Marcus said grimly, "but I'll make it official." Alina opened the fleet-wide channel. "Admiral Thex, this is Admiral Vasquez of the Retribution. You have 30 seconds to stand down. If you do not, there will be no second warning." Thex roared, his pride flaring like a star's core. "All ships, obliterate them." Space erupted. Void screamed as weapons fire ignited space itself. Krillian warships surged forward, flanking in 3 spear formations. Plasma bolts raced ahead like vengeful stars, carving burning trails through the dark. Railguns thundered, launching slugs at near-relativistic speeds. From the Warspawn, an antimatter lance crackled, a ribbon of death slicing toward the Retribution's position. "Evasive pattern Delta 4, Alina ordered. Sarah's fingers danced across her console. The Retribution rolled violently, slipping beneath the antimatter lance by a breath. The void pulsed with light as enemy fire slammed into space where they had just been. "Shields holding at 96%, Tom called, redirecting auxiliary power from decoy systems to kinetic dampeners." Alina nodded. "Good, let's make an entrance." Marcus tapped into the enemy's targeting arrays, launching decoy pings and ghost signals. The Krillians saw a dozen versions of the Retribution, each flickering, warping, breaking apart, only to reform elsewhere. Their formation faltered. Then came the counterstroke. "Fire quantum cannons," Alina said. A low hum shook the deck. On either side of the Retribution, the twin quantum batteries released their payloads. Twin beams of stabilized tachyon plasma burst forth, the color of deep violet lightning. They lanced through the forward Krillian ship, with precision surgical enough to sever its spinal conduit. The vessel didn't explode. It simply ceased to function, its lights dying, motion stopping, momentum carrying its corpse silently through the stars. The second beam grazed a flanking ship, melting armor and engines in a single sweep. Explosions rippled across its hull, secondary systems rupturing. It spiraled into another vessel in its formation. Both were consumed in fire. 3 down, Sarah said with grim satisfaction. The Krillians adjusted. Their formation broke and reformed around the loss, and they began spreading out, using rotational vectors to draw fire across a wider surface. Smart, Alina murmured. They're learning. Let's teach them faster. Launching vortex torpedoes, Tom announced. From beneath the Retribution's belly, 2 torpedoes spiraled forward, trailing gravitic echoes. Upon reaching the heart of the Krillian second wing, they detonated, not in fire, but in silence. A sphere of distortion opened, warping space and folding metal like paper. 2 ships crumpled instantly. A third veered wildly, systems fried by the gravity wave. But the Warspawn remained still, watching, analyzing. Inside, Admiral Thex paced his deck like a caged predator. "They fight like us," he muttered. "No, not like us. Better. More. Precise." His comms officer blinked. "Sir, do we call for reinforcement?" Thex's jaws clicked. "No, we're not prey. We finish what we start." He raised a claw. "Bring the Nova cluster online. Prepare the Lance array for a focused sweep. We cut them down before they cut the heart from us." Back on the Retribution, sensors screamed. "Captain," Marcus warned, "they're prepping a directed energy sweep. High-yield plasma grid, about to flood this quadrant with enough heat to boil a moon." Alina didn't blink. "Time to impact?" 42 seconds. "Sarah?" "Too wide to outrun. We either tank it or neutralize the emitter." Alina's eyes narrowed. "Then we kill it." She turned to Foster. "Doctor, you've got 15 seconds. I want the emitter dead before they fire." Foster grinned, slipping her neural jack into the command uplink, activating Hellcode. Hellcode was a virus designed in the shadows, a self-aware digital predator built for one purpose: dismantle command networks and weapon systems in under 10 seconds. Foster's eyes flicked as code scrolled across her corneal HUD. Krillian code architecture was fractal and semi-organic. Most AIs failed to breach it. Hellcode didn't fail. Bypassing route command, spoofing command beacon, redirecting grid loop. She whispered, "Kill yourself, darling." On the Warspawn, energy surged into the Nova cluster. Then nothing, a hum, a flicker, and then every capacitor along the array detonated internally, ripping the firing module apart in a blossom of white-hot plasma. From the bridge of the Warspawn, Thex screamed, "They killed our emitter! They're inside our systems!" On the Retribution, Foster gave a cheeky smile. Boom! "Shields down across 5 enemy vessels," Marcus reported. "Their battle grids in chaos." Alina didn't hesitate. "All weapons, focus fire, end them." The Retribution surged into the storm. Railguns thundered. Lasers cut precise arcs. Pulse cannons barked in rhythm with Sarah's maneuvering, each burst of fire coordinated with pitch-perfect timing. Another Krillian vessel died, and another, and another. Explosions bloomed like angry stars, their shockwaves folding space into momentary ripples. The field that had once held 15 Krillian warships now held debris, fire, and screams lost to the vacuum. But the Warspawn remained, scarred, furious, alive. "Vex is charging us," Sarah said, ramming Vector. "Then let's show him what happens when you corner a human ship." Alina rose. "Marcus, hyperflux the hull charge. Tom, give me main drive overload. Foster, burn through their targeting feed. Sarah, when I say now, cut all power for 5 seconds. Aye. The Warspawn closed the distance like a tidal wave of steel and wrath. It roared toward the Retribution with every weapon alive and systems burning at redline. And then, "Now!" Alina barked. The Retribution went dark. To the Warspawn it vanished, heat signatures gone, signals dead, hull reflecting nothing but space. Vex hesitated, but too late. The Retribution flared back to life. Now behind him, Alina's voice whispered across the open channel. "Wrong species to pick a fight with, Thex." Quantum cannons fired point blank. The Warspawn's bridge was incinerated in an instant. The ship spasmed, ripped open from the inside by the burning fury of compressed energy. One moment it loomed proud, the next it died. In silence, the wreckage drifted, and all was still. Silence lingered in the void. The battlefield, once a blazing maelstrom of fire and death, now floated still and lifeless. Jagged fragments of Krillian warships spun lazily, casting twisted shadows across the stars. Some burned faintly, internal reactors flaring out in one last sputtering breath. On the Retribution's bridge, no one spoke for a full 5 seconds. Then, enemy signatures none, Marcus said, voice low, confirming all Krillian vessels destroyed or disabled. Shields holding at 41%, Tom added, panting slightly. Hull damage moderate, drive core stable. Foster leaned back, unjacking from the neural interface. Her pupils were dilated, lips curled in a savage grin. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is why you bring a hacker to a gunfight. Alina exhaled slowly. Her hands shook, but just barely. Damage report? Deck 3 vented. 2 crew injured. Medbay stabilizing them, Tom replied. We'll need at least a week in dry dock to fully patch her up. But she's alive. We're alive. They were silent again, until Sarah spoke from helm control. I've never seen anything fight like that. Not even Terran strike wings. That's because they follow orders, Foster smirked. We follow instincts. Alina stepped forward, gazing out the reinforced viewport. The wreck of the Warspawn drifted ahead, broken, burning, but still massive. Open comms, she said. Marcus flicked a switch. You're live. Alina stood tall, voice hard and clear. This is Captain Alina Sareth of the ES Retribution, Terran Defense Command. We are broadcasting this message on all standard and encrypted Krillian channels. Let it be known, the unprovoked ambush on this ship and crew has been met with equal measure. She paused, letting the silence speak. To those who believe the Terran spirit has dulled, to those who think Earth is a fractured relic of old wars, I say this. We are steel wrapped in fire, forged in gravity wells, and raised among the ruins of 1,000 failed empires. Her voice sharpened. We do not conquer. We do not cower. But if provoked, if hunted, we will not retreat. We will not surrender. We will rise. She leaned forward, her eyes locked onto the camera. We are human, and if you come for us again, expect retribution. She nodded. Marcus ended the feed. Across the system, that message would echo. It would reach every listening ear, military, pirate, corporate, Krillian, or otherwise, and fear would follow in its wake. Later, docked at Terran Outpost Theta 7, the Retribution looked like a wounded beast, scarred and scorched, but very much alive. Engineers crawled over her hull. Welders sparked in bursts of light. Parts were swapped, energy conduits rewired. Inside, the crew stood before Admiral Janes in the debriefing chamber. The older woman's face was stone still as she reviewed the footage from the battle. Only when the Warspawn exploded did she exhale. You took on 15 Krillian warships. You destroyed their flagship. You disabled half their fleet's tactical net. And you transmitted a system-wide challenge. Alina stood firm. Yes, ma'am. Admiral Janes looked up and smiled, just slightly. Good. About time they remembered who they were dealing with. She walked around the room slowly, gaze landing on each of them. You weren't supposed to be a combat ship. You were reconnaissance, prototype stealth, minimal armament. What you did out there, that wasn't just victory. That was a message. The kind of message Earth hasn't sent in decades. Foster smirked. So, we're not getting court-martialed? The Admiral barked a laugh. Hell no. You're getting promoted. Cheers broke out. Captain Sareth, Janes said, turning to Alina. Effective immediately, you're being granted command-level clearance. The Retribution is no longer classified as recon. She's now a strategic deterrent vessel under direct control of High Command. Congratulations. Alina blinked. And the mission? Janes smiled again. The mission's changed. You're not watching the frontier anymore. You are the frontier. She turned to leave, then stopped. One more thing, she said over her shoulder. Intelligence intercepted Krillian communications from the edge of their space. They're rallying a fleet, hundreds of ships. They're coming. The room fell silent. How long do we have? Sarah asked. 3 months, maybe less. Alina nodded slowly. Then we train, we upgrade, we prepare. Her voice lowered, eyes burning with iron resolve. And when they arrive, we remind them why Earth was the last species to join the stars, and the first to master war among them. Within the obsidian thrones of Krillax Prime, the surviving warlords gathered. They had seen the footage, they had read the reports, and they argued. Perhaps they are not prey. Perhaps we underestimated the Terrans. They destroyed 15 of our best. Then we send 50, 100. One voice, ancient and gravelled, spoke last. No, we send none. Silence fell. The elder warlord leaned forward, eyes glinting. We do not awaken monsters simply because we wish to prove our strength. The humans, are not prey. They are not rivals. They are not conquerors. They are retribution incarnate.